Luke, back for another PGA DFS video. This time we've got our core plays for this week's Worldwide Technology Championship at Mayakoba core picks. We're going to be going over our favorite plays, one in each salary range for GPP contests this weekend. And this happens to be one of my favorite events of the entire year. I might be slightly biased. A lot of it has to do with the fact that this is where I got my first ever golf GPP win. This last year at the 2020 Mayakoba Classic. So just as Victor Hovland got his first real PGA Tour win, I got my first big field GPP win here as well. So going to go ahead and flash that lineup there on the screen. You guys can see a near perfect lineup right there. So looking to go ahead, build on that this week and have an even better week. So with that being said, these picks, as always, going to be data-based, going to be using a long-term approach to take a look at a course fit, as well as combining recent form to help identify some of the best plays for this slate. And these guys not only are going to have a really solid floor projection, they're going to be able to go out there and make you a cut. They're also going to have a lot of top-end upside as well. So you can go ahead and take down a GPP just like I was last year. So with that being said, let's hop right into the picks here for this week at the Mayakoba Classic. Now for our core picks, our spend up option is going to be Abraham Ancer at $10,700. Not only does he come in with the best form of anyone in the field, number 1 ranked right there, also a top 5 course fit at number 4. He's somebody who I wrote up here last year as a pick. Obviously didn't end up having quite the performance that we are looking for, but this year, going to be a play again because he just provides the perfect combination of recent form as well as course fit. Let's talk about the course fit first of all. He is great off of the tee in terms of accuracy. Obviously one of the shorter players on the PGA Tour, but the beauty about this golf course, especially for Ancer, is that it's only 7,000 yards. He's hardly ever even going to have to pull driver off the tee. It's going to be a lot of hybrids, that kind of thing, which is going to play right into Abraham Ancer's skill set, which is that he's great on approach. In fact, one of the best approach players in the world, and over his last 24 rounds, ranks number 2 in this field in shots gained approach. On top of that, he's a good putter. And while putting is a little bit de-emphasized here at El Camaleon, he's going to be able to at least take advantage of these easy greens. He should make at least a few more putts than the rest of the field, so it's not like I'm holding that good putting against him. In terms of recent form, he has 3 top 14s out of his last 4 starts. He has that breakthrough win just a few months ago as well. And the icing on the cake here is that on paspalum greens, he's going to be able to cover up his around the green woes. If there's anything you can say about Abraham Ancer, is that he struggles getting up and down, but this golf course ranked the easiest last year at getting up and down. Again, a lot of it has to do with the paspalum grass type. If you guys haven't already seen my course breakdown video, it's extremely easy to apply spin to the ball on paspalum. Also tends to not have very much grain to it. Your club isn't going to stick into the ground, so even mishits end up being all right. It's not like they're using that grass on purpose to make this course easier. It's just a product of the environment there, a very salty air at this golf course, so they need to use paspalum, which will be able to handle that. I actually play on a home course that uses paspalum grouse, so I'm extremely familiar with it. Our second man in is going to be Shane Lowry at $9,300. Not popping in either of the 2 categories we're looking at. He's not top 10 in either of them, but number 16 in recent form, also a top 20 course fit. And again, it's not a sexy pick, but in terms of what we're looking for here, he checks all of the boxes we're looking for. In terms of course fit, he's a great win player. We obviously saw evidence of that at Royal Portrush, where he ended up winning the Open Championship. He's also a shorter player on tour, which is not going to be a problem here. Again, most players aren't going to be taking driver very much. He's going to be able to leverage his iron play as well. He tends to be one of the best approach players, and particularly over the last 2 or 3 months. He's ranked top 10 in this field in shots gained approach, which probably isn't something that you thought of when you think of Lowry at first. In terms of recent form, he's made 9 straight cuts. He has 6 top 12 finishes during that stretch. You're not going to find a hotter golfer in this field. And again, he's not known as one of the better putters on the PGA Tour, but that shouldn't be an issue here. The greens here are extremely large. They're around 7,000 square feet. They also tend to be extremely flat. This is a resort-style course. This is meant for you and me. This is not meant for these PGA Tour players. As a result, they are very much so player-friendly. A lot of the breaks are very easy to read, and that's why we saw a score where we saw it last year, and quite frankly, for all the years in the past. I mean, this should be a hard golf course with all of the hazards off the tee. Should be hard, especially when the wind kicks up, but it's not. You know, wind even in factors, so we still get nearly a 22 under par winner every single year. It's because of these greens. So people that struggle on the greens, like Shane Lowry, again, are going to make a few more putts this week than they typically do. Our bread and butter play is going to be Mito Pereira at $8,100, coming in with great form. Ever since he's gotten onto the PGA Tour, actually, been one of the better players out here. He ranks as the number 4 ranked golfer in the field in terms of recent form. In terms of a course fit, he's the 15th ranked golfer in the field. So obviously somebody who should be able to lean into the ball striking a little bit. And in the wind, that is exactly what we're looking for. The people that tend to stripe their irons tend to be better off the tee, tend to do better when it gets windy. They just have more control over their trajectory. They're able to flight the ball down if they need to into the wind, whereas players that aren't as skilled with their iron play aren't as comfortable doing so. Again, he's not going to be able to take care of his length here. Obviously, he's one of the longer players on the PGA Tour, so that's a little bit of a downgrade there. Obviously not ideal, but having that length, at least with the wedges, at least with his irons, isn't going to hurt him. If you take a look at his recent form, he's made 10 of his last 11 cuts on the PGA Tour, and that includes 4 top 6 finishes on the PGA Tour. Again, hard to find anyone in the field hotter than Mito Pereira. Also checks all the boxes in terms of course fit. Just want to remind you guys, we're going to have a live stream on Wednesday evening at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. There we're going to be covering the weather for this week's golf tournament. We're going to go through all my player projections, my player pool, any questions that you guys have down in the live chat. We'll also talk ownership, game theory, all that sort of fun stuff to get you guys ready for this week's contest. So again, that's at 6 o'clock on Wednesday evening. Make sure to stop on by as you guys are making your lineups, and of course with any questions you have for this week. Now our value play is going to be Kevin Streelman this week at $7,200. To me, this seems like a blatant misprice by DraftKings. He comes in as the 12th ranked golfer in terms of recent form rank, also the 26th ranked golfer in the field in terms of a course fit. Obviously not the longest player on the PGA Tour, but he's damn accurate off the tee, and that is going to pay dividends this week. I mentioned it during my course breakdown video, but if you guys haven't gotten a chance to see it, plenty of mangrove forests off the tee, plenty of wooded areas, and of course, the lucky water you can hit, the cliff you can hit off on some of the par 3s here. Just a lot of foliage that you don't want to hit into. When you get off the fairways here, it tends to be a hazard rather than rough or even sand bunkers or anything like that. So obviously that accuracy is going to be very advantageous. He's also a very good approach player. He sets up a ton of birdie opportunities with his wedges, particularly with his long irons as well. Where he tends to struggle tends to be with some of those mid irons, which is a little bit surprising. But here at El Camaleon, plenty of wedges, plenty of long irons into these par 5s as well. And again, if there's any place that Streelman tends to struggle, it's on the greens. He's not one of the better putters on the PGA Tour, has his weeks now and then, but here on some greens that are extremely flat, very easy to read, I think he's going to do a little bit better than usual. In terms of recent form, he has made 5 straight cuts coming into this event. He didn't have a good finish at the CJ Cup, but he was very consistent over the last 3 months, so I tend to give him a little bit of pass for that. He has 3 top 15s over the last 3 months, just to show you the kind of form he's coming in, especially towards the end of last season. He has a little bit of around the green issues at times. He's not one of the worst around the green players on the PGA Tour, but every once in a while he will bleed strokes around the green. Beauty about this golf course is, again, that around the green play is going to be a lot easier than usual. So Kevin Streelman, somebody I like, again, from a course fit perspective and from a recent form perspective. Now for our diamond in the rough, we have Joel Dahmen at an even $7,000. Is absolutely popping off the board in terms of a recent form rank, coming in as the number 7 ranked golfer in the field. At course fit, he's the 38th ranked golfer. So not an issue there, obviously not in the top 10 or anything like that. But if we take a look a little bit more into the win narrative, particularly the Paspalon narrative, he starts to pop if we take a look at course form. First of all, his first win on the PGA Tour was at the Corrales Putacana, which is also a Caribbean-style course. It's also seaside. It's known for having wind at times. It's also featuring Paspalum greens. Pretty much checks all the boxes there in terms of a course comp. Again, we talked about that golf course over on our course breakdown video, but Joel Dahmen won there, so wouldn't be surprised to see him come out and have a very good tournament here. Last year, Victor Hovland, he was a play for me because his first ever win was at the Puerto Rico Open. It was at a course where you have windy conditions, you have Paspalum greens, tends to be a birdie fest. So I'm not saying that Joel Dahmen's going to do a repeat of Victor Hovland's dance last year, but getting very similar vibes. He's obviously a very good iron player. He's obviously not one of the longer players off the tee either, so I think both of those are advantageous there. He's not going to have to hit driver very often, and again, should be able to lean on that approach play. In terms of recent form, he's made 8 of his last 9 cuts. Can't complain there. He's consistently posted decent finishes as well. Doesn't have anything super flashy apart from that win at the PGA Championship, but love the recent form, love the course fit, somebody that will be featured in quite a few lineups of mine this week. But now for our flyer play, way down the board, we have Hudson Swafford at $6,300. Also somebody we can compare a lot to Joel Dahmen. Comes in with very good recent form as the second ranked golfer in the field, and yes, he's $6,300. If we take a look at the course fit metrics, nothing to write home about. He's the 103rd ranked golfer in the field, but those numbers there really don't tell the story. I mean, when we're using course form, we're taking a look at career trajectory, whether their shots gained metrics fit up with this golf course, and if we take a look at Swafford's career numbers, they're ugly. He's a loser across the board, really only kept his tour card at times because he had a few wins. If we take a look at the most recent win at the Corrales, again, that's where Joel Dahmen won. It should be a good course fit. He was very good in the win that week, ended up gaining strokes on those past Palm Greens, even though he's a severe loser at every other golf tournament. He's also tends to be one of the best approach players, particularly from short distances on the whole PGA Tour. The icing on the cake here, he tends to be a shorter hitter as well. So it makes a lot of sense that he was able to get it done at Corrales. And here at this golf course, I think it's also extremely likely as well. El Camaleon really tends to just favor some of these shorter hitters. If we take a look at the last 6 winners here, every single one of them outside of Viktor Hovland has a driving average under 300 yards. So that should speak volumes there. Hudson Swafford's also one of those guys averaging under 300 yards per drive. He also had a second place finish a few months ago at the PGA Championship. He's made 5 of his last 7 cuts, which is much better than what we're used to seeing from him late. And he's also had a few first-round leads. He's gone out to some hot starts. And even though he's faltered down the stretch, not necessarily closed them or anything like that, you at least like to see that he has that top-end volatility and the ability to take a course low. So at $6,300, I think you could do a whole lot worse than somebody who's won at this type of venue in the past, albeit a different course, but also coming with much better form than we've seen in the past. That's all we've got for this week's core picks. Go ahead and let me know down in the comments who you've got winning this week's golf tournament. Obviously for me, I think Abraham Ancer's got a really good shot to do it. I wouldn't be surprised if Viktor Hovland went and repeated, but I think JT, of all people, might have the best shot this week. I think he's a little bit expensive for DraftKings. I also think he's going to be extremely popular. We'll have to see whether he's a play for me later on in the week. But again, could very well be somebody to look at on the outright betting market. But go ahead and let me know who you've got down in the comments. As always, I really appreciate all of your support here on the channel. If you guys haven't already gotten a chance to like the video, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure you guys go ahead and do so. We're going to have our value picks coming out tomorrow, as well as our top 3 fades and sleeper picks. And of course, the live stream on Wednesday that I talked about before, that'll be at 6 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be talking weather, we'll be talking our player pool, projections. We'll go over any live questions that you have. We'll talk about game theory, lineup construction. It's whatever you want. What the hour is for you. Whatever questions that you have, we'll cover. So make sure to stop on by. I will put a link down in the description so you guys can go ahead and leave a reminder.